The perfect Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list doesn't actually exist, does it? Hey, 34% of you guys have not smashed the crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it! Because I'd like to climb up to 110,000 here. We're making massive progress right now. So I've been sent this ban list by 5 different people, and instead of doing a market watch this morning, I figured, you know what, we're gonna humor it, all right? Because after the last couple of days of being mind broken, I was like, I'm so sick of this. I want to have some optimism. So tomorrow will be the OCG ban list for those of you that are like, huh? What do we care about there, Robbie? Because it usually sets the stage for the next couple of our lists. You might see something spicy come back. You might go, oh, shit, Konami, what are you doing? You know, stupid shit like that. So this leaked image, and I use leaked very, very loosely here, because for a Japanese ban list to have English card pictures on it is the dumbest shit that you could ever imagine. But you know what? We're here to humor it today, because I actually, there's some interesting things to talk about here. So the limited to 1 section, they have Kit Gallos to 1. Now, hear me out here for a second. We all pretty much know that, at least on the TCG side of the game, putting Kit Gallos to 1 isn't gonna do a lot. All right, the OCG's got some different little lines of play where they're playing like 2 of them things. So the possibility of seeing a nice little slap on the wrist for that, you got to remember the hybrid build is a real pain in the ass. The fact you can also, you know, play instant fusion and, you know, warp out Kit Gallos and do some other things, and it's a real pain in the ass. So I perfectly understand that they've already got way more restrictions on this stuff than we do. Their field spells already at 1. One of the Millers is at 2. I feel like this to 1 does help out quite a lot, because some of the builds have played at least 2 of these. Now, up above that, you're going to see Fenrir and Unicorn to 1. Now, before you start reading here without understanding this, a lot of the general consensus from the community kind of looking at the format right now is Fenrir is probably going to go to 1 at some point. Like, it's basically a much better Pankratops for what it does. I think a lot of the community is kind of on that mentality right now of, yeah, it's a walking, talking time bomb. And I agree with that, all right? For them to go for Unicorn and Fenrir to 1, you have to remember Unicorn is the spell searcher for Kashtira, and Fenrir is going to be the monster searcher. So unless they're planning on giving this deck some more support, that is a massive blowout. And I mean a massive, that's the knees giving out for Kashtira for both the hybrid build and the pure build, which actually I think was a very good call if this actually ends up passing. Unicorn to 1 might be a little bit too much per se, considering another hit lower down here on the list. But I think that Konami definitely, Kashtira has to be checked in a way that, like, whatever we're coming out with after, you know, this needs to be dialed back, because Tyr and Kashtira have, I don't know if you live under a rock, but like those 2 decks are like the furthest level of power creep that we have seen in the game. And I mean, hell, Sprite was a little bit of a consistency monster of its own. What Sprite does isn't too far out of the norm compared to the rest of them. And I mean, One Dark World No More pretty much cleans that up. But the problem with, you know, Tyr was its recurability, and the problem with walking, talking macrocosmo.deck is its recovery is pretty good, plus the ability to blank all of your opponent's zones is pretty messed up. So at least the logical standpoint of putting those cards to 1 checks, you know, the reusability. If you end up losing one of them along the way to something that you can't recover, well, you'll be in a pretty good position, in my opinion. So definitely, I like that. I like the checks on the 1 list. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Now, the visible 2s that I can see here on this toaster image, we have the Tier Elements Kashtira monster to 2. Now, to be honest with you, that thing has caused so many stupid problems. The fact that it has Kashtira and Tier Elements in the name and gives you a mill and can be special summoned and act as a level 7. Konami, I get that, like, the Scareclaw Kashtira monster wasn't that scary, but whatever you were thinking, putting tier elements and Kashtira on the same card palette, was a mistake. Alright, let's just call it what it is. We already know that we messed up, alright? Putting this to 2 feels like a very major, we fucked up. We need to clean this shit up ASAP. You also see Gazelle going to 2 in the OCG. I could see this finally happening on our next list. I think that if this does end up being, true and passive here with this, I think that Gazelle, can go to 2. I don't think the TCG is ready to push it to 3 yet, because I still feel like they're a little bit afraid of that, and that's what makes this like such an interesting little discussion point with Gazelle is, Circle's been pretty much running around at full power. Solid, unfortunately, isn't doing but. So kind of releasing the restrictions on that. I could see it going to 2 before we push it to 3. Quick fix to 2? I feel like that the OCG's been doing some pretty interesting spiral stuff. I don't know if you live underneath a rock or anything, but, Quick Fix is a pretty busted-ass card. Alright, that card does some stupid things that shouldn't be allowed in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And, I will say, for the most part, it should probably be locked up and never let back out again. But that's neither here nor there at the end of the day. So the more that they give spiral cards to players, the more the players are going to continue to look at that deck. Because no matter like how much power creep and things you bring to the table, spiral in its current forms always seems to kind of find a way, as long as you leave it with all of the good tools to be a deck. And then they're getting, Galtea to 2. Finally, Orcust has been pretty much purgatoried there for so long. And down here at the bottom, I can only see what we can see very, very loosely here. It looks like Phantom Knights of Torn Scales and Frogdoll 2-3. To be fair, whatever hits and stuff that they had on Tri-Brigade, that deck kind of has been power crept a little bit pretty far out of the format, actually. You've been seeing Bird Up function relatively okay here, at least on our side of the game, and I think that that's been fine. And Phantom Knights have just been locked up for really no reason. But is this what we're really expecting to be the list, to be honest with you? I think the only other change that I'm hearing that people want to see, and this has mainly been a TCG thing, because the way that the power creep has been lately, Magna Hut is a future pending problem, according to a lot of players. You just don't get to see it right now because we have to rely on it as a check to what's kind of going on right now. And buy-steal management in the format might actually change depending on, what light and dark decks actually do stick around in the format. But you do have to admit that Magna Hut's card design is actually just awful. The ability to search for literally any dragon. Could search for Phantasme if we were in a link-heavy format, but guess what we're not in? A link-heavy format. So that's kind of, I think, one thing that a lot of players are kind of having on the back burner right now would be a cleanup to Magna Hut, at least to 1 at a much later date. Whether or not I think that's a good thing or a bad thing, I do see it as a possibility. The rest of the buy steals, we do have another one coming here in Photon Hypernova that gives the ability to tribute, and then basically pop a special summon monster from the extra deck, which is pretty good in combination with things. So you could possibly see Magna Hut could end up being a possible issue later on in the format. But that's like the only other thing that I can really think of right now. Very free monsters are going to be issues. And look at like the level of power creep and stuff that they're doing with this. Now, we don't have really any info outside of Super Heavy Samurai and whatever the Cyberstorm Access beginning stuff was. So I can't really give you an accurate, scale of what we're thinking right now and what will be impacted on a list, because we're missing that upcoming card info. And until we get that card info, I think, oh man, that was a good yawn. I think that we'll have to wait and see, but hopefully they're done making tier support and maybe less support here. But man, we've already seen how that's gone. So please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.